Hello again, welcome back to Drummer Daily. This is episode number 192. You can find, if there are any show notes for this, and I kind of never know if there are show notes or not until I actually record the episode. But if there are any, you can check them out over at danielhadaway.com/192. All right, so today I've got another question from one of you, from you. Not you, maybe not you, depending on who you are. But if your name is Tino and you're listening to this podcast, the question is from you. But I think today's podcast episode is going to be something that you're gonna find relevant. And how do I know it's going to be relevant to you? Well, this probably is the number one question that I get. And I've probably answered different versions of this question a few times on the podcast, but it never hurts to have a reminder, a refresher on this. But Tino writes in today and he says, very simple question: what is the best way of getting discovered? And man, if that is not a loaded question, I don't know what is. Getting discovered, first off, I just want to start here. I don't think that most professional musicians ever get discovered, quote unquote. There really is not a situation, I'm not aware of many situations where, especially drummers, where, it's not, I just imagine like a cheesy movie or something, there's a drummer just slogging it out in a bar and there's some, I don't know who it would be, a producer just, is depressed. He's been depressed all day. He's thinking, man, I'm so bummed out. There's not a drummer that I really like out there. There's no drummers anywhere, and he's drowning his sorrows at the bar late one night, and there's a guy up there playing Sweet Home Alabama with the cover band on stage, and his mind is blown all of a sudden. He's like, "That's the drummer I need. I must hire him now." That's when someone says getting discovered, that's what I think of. I think of some magical, getting carried away on a tidal wave of opportunity, being plucked from obscurity and jumping straight into private jets and gold-plated toilets or whatever it is. But that doesn't really happen much. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen, because as soon as I say that, someone's going to write into me and say, well, what about so-and-so? Those are my favorite emails, by the way. I'm being sarcastic. Those are not my favorite emails. But there are situations. I mean, I will say that one of my first opportunities, I guess it's maybe as close to quote unquote getting discovered as you can be. I don't know. I got an audition and I auditioned for an artist who was already well established and doing big tours and stuff. And I auditioned for her. Let's see. I think there were 10, maybe 12 other drummers that all auditioned in the same day. And they picked me and I was the drummer, and a week later I was on a tour bus, on my first big tour. So I guess that's probably as close as I've gotten to quote unquote being discovered. But what's crazy about that is that I kind of had that experience, did that for a while, got fired from that gig, and then kind of decided I wasn't going to do music again, and then kind of came back and worked my way back up in a more organic way the second time. And so I've kind of done both, but my situation was really rare as far as getting discovered and having the audition. But I do want to tell you a few things about getting discovered. And the first question you need to ask yourself is who might discover me? And there are people who can hire musicians, but there are also, before you quote get a lot of opportunities, a lot of times you need to just kind of let people enjoy and appreciate your drumming. Whether that's in a local scene, whether that's on social media, whether that's on YouTube or whatever it is, people need to kind of enjoy what you're doing. And the first thing you need to ask yourself, and I'm going to kind of go through 3 steps here, three ways of 3 things to go down the path of getting discovered. And then you could replace the word discovered for just getting more opportunities, whatever it is. You don't have to necessarily think about an instant change of your life or whatever that the word discover might conjure up. The first thing is this: you need to ask yourself, all right, well, if someone were to discover me, let's say there was someone out there who could like wave a magic wand and gift you with a gig that's just life-changing. Who are they? And this could be more generic, like is it a producer, is it an artist, whoever. But the bigger question you need to ask yourself is, why would they, and this is not a cynical question, this is a genuine question you need to answer for yourself. What about you makes them think that you are so special that they need you over the other drummers that they're aware of, that they know, that they've hired before? What makes you so special? And that question can sound really depressing if you haven't figured that out or you haven't even approached it that way before. But I do believe that every drummer has something that can make them unique. And if you don't have something now, you need to kind of maybe videotape yourself. Videotape, man, what year is it? You just record yourself and look back at your own drumming. Identify the unique quirks and nuances about your drumming and maybe embrace those if they're not detrimental to music and musicality. But you need to figure out what's special about you and know that whatever's special about you is probably not going to be for everyone. Everyone's not going to be into what you're doing. Everyone is certainly not into what I do and what I play and how I play, and no, everyone's certainly not into this podcast. I've gotten enough emails and comments to know that. But you have to be able to embrace what makes you unique. If you are not aware of anything that makes you unique, why would someone pick you? A lot of drummers approach their drumming as more of a sport. We've talked about this on the podcast before, but if you're accepting that as far as style goes, there's nothing really different about you, you are just quote unquote gonna be better than every other drummer, that is competition. That's a sport. That's not really music. That's not creating something unique and the first of its kind. That is doing what everyone else is doing and just thinking you're going to be the best. And if that's going to be your approach, and there may be opportunities for quote unquote awesome, great drummers, technically skilled drummers, but if you're going to play that game, there is no value in being second best at that game. If you're not the best, if you literally are not number one at that technical game that you're playing, why would a producer hire you when they could hire number one? Literally, it's a game of you got to beat everybody else. You got to be better than everybody else. And in some ways, you might have to take away from someone else in order to gain for yourself. I don't like that game. I don't think that's real. I don't think that's a sustainable way of making a career. I don't think that's healthy for anyone. I don't think that's really right. I don't believe that opportunities have to be taken from others. I believe that you can create your own opportunities. And the way you create your own opportunities is by being unique and embracing what makes you unique as a musician, as a drummer. So the first question you need to ask yourself is, or the question you need to ask yourself, I guess the other two pieces aren't really questions, but the question is, what makes me unique and am I ready to be discovered? That's really the question. If the only thing worse than not being discovered is being discovered, quote unquote, but then the person who discovered you really not liking what they're hearing and seeing. And so make sure that if you want to be discovered, make sure you're actually in a place where it would be a good thing for you to be discovered. Not every artifact that's found in an archaeological dig is a rare, valuable artifact. Some are worth more than others. In the same way, you don't want to be discovered only for that person to say, "Man, I put that on the list of guys I never want to hire. That's awful." So ask yourself that question. So the other, and beyond that, there's two other pieces of this that I want you to follow. And these aren't going to be super in depth because they're pretty self-explanatory. But the first one is you need to practice and play and work on your drumming as if you are going to be discovered, quote unquote, tomorrow. So work at your drumming like there's going to be somebody, any moment now swooping in and, discovering your playing. Keep your skills sharp, keep working on them, keep getting better. I'm not much about being a technical drummer, but I do believe in technical improvement. Keep working at being a better drummer. Keep working at being better at the simple things. That's where the money is. What do they always say? Something like the money's in the pocket or something like that. I don't know, whatever it is. But the reality is most paid gigs are wanting drummers who can play, not just play simple beats, but play them with feel and with passion and articulation and play them well. So yeah, work on your technical ability, but work on getting better at the simple things. And there is unlimited depth in that. Don't be afraid to play boring quote unquote patterns, but find the nuance and the imperfections that you can work on within those simple patterns. But the whole thing is you need to work and prepare like you're going to be discovered tomorrow. And somewhat, on the other side, I don't know what the word is for that. I'm going to think of it as soon as I stop recording this podcast. But literally on the opposite side of that same equation, the opposite side of the coin, on the flip side of that, you need to work and work with others and be kind to others and help others and network the small, not the little N network, not the big N network like don't be a crazy person and be desperate. But you need to work at becoming the kind of drummer that others want to be around. They're the kind of person others want to work with. Work at that stuff like you will never be discovered. So prepare like you're going to get discovered tomorrow, but maybe work on yourself like you will never get discovered. And it's going to be a slow and steady climb to the top because you may never get discovered. Most people don't quote unquote get discovered. But the ones who do are the ones who've been preparing for it, but the ones who've also have the work ethic to back up that they were worth being discovered all along. Again, I guess I said the only thing worse than being discovered is being discovered and then not being like being something awful that the person wishes they hadn't discovered. I guess the only thing worse than that, than being discovered, I guess I said the only thing worse than not being discovered is being discovered and not being what someone wants. The only thing worse than that is probably being discovered, someone thinking you're what they want, and then once you get into the situation where maybe you have a gig, they find out you don't have the work ethic or the interpersonal relationship skills to back up and last a long time or just be easy to get along with. So you got to work on that too. So to recap, first thing is ask yourself, am I ready to be discovered? Then once you decide you are, work and improve yourself like you're going to be discovered any moment now, like you're going to be discovered tomorrow. But then also work like you'll never be discovered. Do those things and I think you will start yourself down the path. Everyone's path is unique and different. So that's why I can't give you everything. It's because whoever you are listening to this, some of the details are going to be different for you. But the 3 things I just outlined in this podcast, those are probably going to be true for you. Those are probably going to help you. So start there and see where you get. Thanks for joining me on the podcast, and we will talk again really soon. Bye for now.